Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to Live with Lists. Good to see you again. Here we are getting close to the end of the year. And so my mind went to that client survey that we haven't prepared to send out yet. Um, Client surveys. I didn't expect client surveys to be as controversial as they seem to be these days. I've been on the receiving end of client surveys when I was in-house. Um, I have participated in sending client surveys. I've experienced mixed results with them. And it's something that, from a law firm perspective, hey, Omen, nice to see ya. There are there are questions about whether or not it's even worthwhile. Will we bother our clients by sending them? No one's going to respond anyway, is often a comment that I hear when we talk about client satisfaction surveys. And if they're not going to respond and we're just going to bother them, it's better to just send that holiday card and call it a day. I disagree. I think that the client satisfaction survey can absolutely be a tool to help with all sorts of things for your firm if done correctly. We don't want to be too vague. We don't want to send these things too often. But the end of the year, beginning of the year, this is a good time to measure how well you're doing with your clients. For those few that will answer, their answers will be valuable to you. And if we're thoughtful about the way we put them together and about how we use them, then maybe we can get that response rate up too. So when you're thinking about client surveys, how are we going to send them? Really, we know nowadays that we're not going to conduct telephone interviews with our clients. We're probably not going to send a postcard or actual paper in the mail. Nobody does that. It's going to be online. So we don't have to think too hard, except when it comes to choosing what platform to use, because there are so many different surveying platforms out there. We discussed surveys earlier this year in a different way. We talked about different platforms. And when I had the chance earlier this year, I demoed every platform I could get my hands on to figure out which ones would work best. Now, I'm not beholden to any. I don't have a partnership with any of these platforms. So if I throw one out, it's because I actually think that there's merit to using this technology. And I landed on, I really do like Qualtrics. That's one that I had considered going with in the end. And there is an investment involved. And if you're not going to conduct surveys very often, or if you just don't have a lot of time to put into it and you don't want to spend money on it, maybe that's not the best solution for you. But if you do have other purposes for surveying and maybe are considering doing this more often, I would look into that one and some of their competitors as well. Um, Otherwise, I'm very happy with Typeform, which I know a lot of firms are actually using these days. It's easy on the eyes, it's easy to put together, there's logic behind it, it's pretty seamless. And I actually find it enjoyable to scroll through these Typeform questions just because of how kind of beautiful they've made it. And if you keep these surveys short and sweet and you give somebody, I don't know, something easy on the eyes when they get that survey in their inbox, then maybe you will get that response rate up. Now, okay, say you've got your platform and you're putting things together. We know that we want to measure some things. What are we trying to get out of this? Well, we're creating a touch point with the client. That's going to be useful just to remind them of who we are, remind them that we're thinking of them. But one of the ideas behind this is to get some measurable information that tells us how we can improve our services, where we're doing well, where maybe we lag behind, areas of improvement. And then when we get this feedback, what we're going to do with it. This is all important, but we're creating brand awareness at the same time we're doing this. We're hopefully bolstering client retention, which, hey, I mean, not just a bonus, this is actually the point of it. We want client retention. The whole idea behind sending these client satisfaction surveys and getting results back is that we want to improve our quality so that we can, get referrals later, make sure that our clients come back time after time, make sure that we can hold on to them, make sure that we do things for our firm that make us better to help grow our business and not lose the business that we currently have. And it's just one small, simple thing that doesn't cost a lot of money and doesn't take a lot of time. And if we do it right, won't bug our clients. If you have a happy client, they're probably happy to answer a question. And if they're not too unhappy, maybe they don't answer it. And Maybe if they're really unhappy, they'll let you know anonymously through that client satisfaction survey. Today, you can get very sophisticated with these and connect them to your CRM and really get insights about people, but you do have to be careful. And I think as attorneys, as law firms, you know that there are some risks involved, and maybe that's a concern that you're experiencing, but put a little thought into it at the beginning. You may have to include a disclaimer, you may not. You may have some privacy issues in your particular jurisdiction. You definitely need to look into that to determine whether or not there are certain things you should or shouldn't be asking in a survey. And while we don't want to be vague, we don't want specifics on actual cases, because we want to make sure we know who has access to them in the law firm. We want to make sure that the information we're receiving is received in a way that makes sense for us. And if we have major concerns about this, we can have a third party run it for us. We don't even have to do it ourselves. At a law firm, there are a lot of different options available to you, and you can have these safely and securely run by a third party without having to put too much effort or thought into it at all, and by people who know and can get some measurements put out about it. So when you get started drafting your client satisfaction survey at the end of the year, think about what you're trying to get out. What are the goals that you have for this? Are you trying to understand better what makes your clients happy? Are you trying to understand where you have room for improvement? I think that those are the things that are pretty general. How do we get specific about it? And how do we do it quickly? I know that concern about client time and about bothering them and one more survey. I don't want to answer another survey in my inbox. Well, let's make it so that it's not too bothersome, right? Let's be very conscientious about the way we're formulating these questions. Maybe put a tad bit of humor in them, or, say, yeah, we all make mistakes. Can you point out some of ours? We'll take it gracefully. Things like that just say, okay, I'll answer those questions, those surveys that say, hey, can we just have 30 seconds of your time? Would you answer 2 questions for us? So if you really don't want to bother people, you could get right down to the nitty gritty and say 2 questions. If you've got a few more minutes, here are a few other things we'd like to ask you about, but no obligation. And, across the board, you could gift people for participating or incentivize them further. I mean, what paralegal doesn't want a coffee gift certificate? Coffee. Hold on, I need a sip. Yes, please. So there are ways to get people to participate, and there are ways to make the results meaningful if we ask the right questions. Now, some of the questions, what is on your mind? What are you trying to ask at the end of the year? So we can be a little general without necessarily being vague. How available have our attorneys been to you? Availability, timeliness of response. A lot of those things can come out of one question. You can even leave a text box to create space for people to add additional comments and provide insights that you might not be expecting just from asking a simple question that can be quick to ask and quick to deliver. Even though you haven't really taken up too much of their time, they might be willing to share a little bit more with you. Ratings questions are pretty easy. Everyone knows nowadays how to throw some stars at something and say, how satisfied with you on a scale of 1 to 5 or 1 to 10 or 1 to 5 stars. Everybody loves stars. So you can absolutely ask ratings questions about the firm. You can ask ratings questions. You can have one question with 5 different rating scales on it that say, attorney communication, law firm communication, billing process. These things that maybe you think you need to improve, you could include in there. Maybe you want to include something about just information in general that you share. Do you read our newsletters? That's a question you could ask at the end, even if you're just throwing it into a client satisfaction survey. It might be useful to you to know whether or not the information you're putting out is useful. Just one more thing you can update or change in response to it. Would you refer us to a friend? That's a question you can ask that determines a lot right there. And you can make the answers witty and kind of interesting. Just, no, I don't really like you. My boss made me hire you. Or, you're awesome. Of course, I would refer you to a friend. I already have. And I hope you don't mind that I have your cell phone number and gave your WhatsApp to everyone. These kinds of things can really help make it easier and more fun for people to connect with you. But if you want to keep it more serious, maybe that's the nature of your firm, then you absolutely should. And you don't want to be too bothersome. to people, of course. So I would keep these short and sweet. I wouldn't do any more than 10 questions, even if they're multiple parts. Some of them can even be quicker, 4 to 5 questions or 1 to 2 questions, like we said before. When you send it in that email and you're trying to give someone a hook to respond, whether it's an incentivization, whether you're incentivizing them to respond with, a thank you at the end. Everyone who participates will donate a certain amount of money to a charity for every participant. Maybe it's not as easy as just giving a gift. Maybe there's something that you're doing that can, in fact, influence things right from the get-go with the client satisfaction survey itself. And when I've done some of these in this manner, with thought put in advance, understanding the goals, making sure we choose the right tools, asking the right questions, I have received meaningful responses, even if you don't think that you're getting a success rate that's so high. If you send in, and you don't necessarily have to send this to everyone. You can send it to select clients that maybe you're trying to get information for a certain practice area. You actually don't even have to send the same survey to everyone. But if you're trying to get trending results, if you're trying to get something that you can compare against other firms, if you use a third party, there are companies out there that can do that. Then these are things, if you're trying to baseline yourself, that you want to think about in advance and that you want to put a little bit of effort into, even if you don't have to put so much time to do it. A lot of resources are available. A lot of the CRM systems have actually thought this through for you, because you can actually do it linked to your CRM. So there are blogs out there from Constant Contact and HubSpot that actually will give you instructions on how to do this. And there are other resources available specifically for law firms like us. You can always reach out and ask us questions. You want to run a test survey by us, we love looking at them. There are lots of sample surveys available online. Actually, I'll throw a link or two down for some resources into the comment section after we're done here, so that you can take a look at some of these resources without having to search too hard. I know from outside of the US, from where I sit, results are often different and search terms can vary. So we'll do that for you. And then remember, at the end, when you get the results, you don't just go, yeah, that's what we thought, and call it a day. No, there are actually things. Hey, Mira. Hi, Leah. There are actually things that you can do with the results. So one thing is, you want to share them. You want to share them with your team. You want to make sure that people on your team know that you've conducted this survey, or that you will conduct this survey. You want to make sure that the takeaway is something that resonates. So you want to take those survey results and distribute them and say, this is where we have room for improvement. You want to take action based on the results in some cases, maybe not in every case, but once you have the results in front of you and you can make a determination on the value of that feedback, then you absolutely can take action on it and put that into your plan for the year. And if you haven't started thinking of it, now is the time. We're here. It's the end of the year. You actually still have time to do this. You've got another, week that people are basically still working, sort of, and then the beginning of next year is not too bad. Hey, now that 2022 is behind us. So if you're doing this next year, maybe in just a few weeks, now that the year is behind us, let's take a look back and see how we did. That's not obtrusive. It's something that, even just getting that client satisfaction survey, the act that you're sending it to me, if I were sitting in house, as I did for almost a decade, and I get these things, I would say, oh, at least this law firm cares. At least they care about the quality of their service and how they provide legal services to us. So yeah, I'll take a minute. And oh my God, I hate this firm. I'm totally going to tell them, going to really do it. You probably want to do these anonymously so that people feel comfortable answering the questions. And that's basically how you put these together. So if you were on the fence about it and you thought, well, I've done these in the past and nobody answered, or they're just annoying, I can't stand another survey, think about it again. Don't just throw away that and say, I'm not doing it. Think about it again with fresh light, with new tools, with the goals that you have in mind. Keep it short and sweet and give it another try. And if you need help with it, you know where to find us, solutions@firmforward.com. Thank you for joining us on Live with Liz. And, I think we're going to keep doing lives throughout the holidays, but we might skip a week or two, and, have a great holiday if you don't see me before then. And if you don't see me before the new year, have a great new year. Thanks as always for joining me. I'm really happy you're here, and have a great rest of your week. Bye, everybody.